Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Coffee with Jim and James, a very special episode this week because we are recording live at the TGA. I mean, it's exciting.
Someone just walked by and cracked me up.
Well,
they obviously had no clue what we were doing here.
Oh, no.
And they just gave us a look like,
what are you guys doing?
All right, y'all are in the right place?
What are you guys? Why are you guys talking to yourselves? Look, we have people taking pictures right here. I mean, it's a bevy.
We get used to it. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a long time coming. He has dodged my emails and texts for years now. I can say years. We've been doing this show for years.
I was waiting for my rider to be approved, but here I am without
a contract.
No contract.
I don't want a coffee cup.
You have a water. That's okay.
We're all friends here.
Except the water.
Brian, bring the audience along. Let them know who you're with. Give them a little quick intro. You know your thing.
Come on, elevator speech.
You've been at a trade show before.
I have a time or two, just a few.
Do your thing.
Yep. So I'm with Sapphire Gas Solutions. We had several names previous to that. Thickpin Energy, Thickpin Solutions. Same
I used
basic.
that joke before.
That's all right. Nobody will get it. It's all good.
Sorry.
No worries. But anyways, so here promoting the TGA this week, our story for the last 6 years that I've been involved, probably 3 or 4 years prior to that before I came on board, but this idea of virtual pipelines in support of pipeline operators and really any end user that needs natural gas at their burner tip. So.
Okay, let's break this down a little bit.
So this isn't fair because I'm sitting here with two nerds in this space, if I can be honest.
We are.
And I'm over here like just the guy trying to figure it all out. Now,
like, what is a virtual pipeline?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I will say this, that so you and I have been in the industry, Brian, the same amount of time, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That we've been here now this long. We're the old guys. We're getting there. But, so I've learned a lot. I've asked a lot of questions, and that's one space that I started honestly because of you guys when we all worked together.
Yep.
And I was fascinated by it. So can you all break down a little bit for the people who don't know virtual pipeline, some of that, because I know it helped me, and I'm sure there's some people out there that'd be a little scared to ask maybe.
Sure.
Please.
Y'all both geek out on it. I want y'all to go on tangent.
Well, so. Where do we begin, Ryan? Where do you want to begin?
Well, I think it's worth mentioning
you were born.
I think it's worth mentioning that you were the one that gave me a chance.
I did. Yep.
In the natural gas
Let's
space.
lean in there. What does that mean?
He asked me to interview on a Saturday for brunch, which I was like, a Saturday interview?
Yeah.
It's very on brand. Yeah.
So it's Jim hired me 6 years ago.
Yep.
And he was CEO of Thickpin Energy at the time. We were an oil field services company at the time, so bringing in LNG mainly into the oil field, the Permian, Midland, Odessa.
Liquefied natural gas.
Just to keep what? Just to keep rigs running?
It was to keep dual fuel rigs running. So at the time, frac rigs, drill rigs were running off of diesel mostly, right? Well, diesel prices were sky high. Kind of the idea of
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like today.
Like today.
The idea of emissions and greenhouse gases and ESG kind of was just getting started.
Just rumbling.
That's right, just rumbling. And so these operators kind of made an initiative to lower cost and reduce emissions at the same time. And so technology existed that allowed those rigs to burn a combination or mixture of diesel part-time, natural gas part-time, right?
That's the dual.
That's the dual.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But how do you get that from the pipeline into a mobile frac fleet, right? So Jim kind of led the efforts to take LNG in tanker trucks, deliver them to site, vaporize that liquid that's stored at negative 260 degrees Fahrenheit, vaporize that kind of using a process that can be heated with glycol or water bath or other ways to heat that back up and turn it back into a gas, but then deliver that to that engine to then continue pumping more oil from the ground. So there was a cost savings there, a lot cheaper than diesel, even with having the truck in that gas, and help them also meet some emission goals at the same time.
Yep, and I think it's important. Let me just take a step back. When we talk about LNG and CNG, a lot of people associate them with the same thing. LNG, you take about 620 cubic feet of natural gas, cool it to minus 260, minus 265 degrees, and it turns into 1 cubic foot of LNG.
Yeah.
And you
It's
keep
like
it cold.
1/600.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
That's exactly
Ish.
right.
And then you keep it
Learned
cold.
that today.
And then
Are
when
you
you,
proud of me?
You're
Like,
doing
I'm coming
good.
along. I think I'm gonna make it here.
There you go.
You know what? You might have you want to go see the folks over at Sapphire just to talk about that?
We'll see if they're available.
But then so you get a lot of energy in a very small space, and then you re-vaporize it like Brian was saying, and it's really one of those LNG tankers that looks like a semi-truck, looks almost like a water tanker, for lack of a better term, but that could heat. Actually, it could take care of all the fuel, natural gas needs of a house in Minnesota for, I think it's like 8 or 9 years. So one tanker could feed a home up there for 9 or 10 years, something like that.
About 10,000 gallons of LNG.
Yeah.
Wow.
How's that for a little?
Oh, it's great. So explain virtual. So I like the word virtual pipeline. Is that just the coined term around that solution?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim was the one I kind of learned the term virtual pipeline from, to be honest with
Look
you.
how proud, like
Yeah.
a proud.
Now, I don't know if he holds trademark rights or what the deal is there, but
Hopefully,
We've been using that for a long time, but
it's a gift to the industry.
virtual pipeline is just that. It's like, instead of running a steel pipe in the ground, if somebody just needs a temporary solution, bring a tanker in, hook it up, let it run virtually. I mean, not virtually, but let it run for 5, 7, 2 weeks, whatever the case is. Pull it out and off to the next one.
kind of interchange that with mobile pipeline.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I've heard it that way.
Yeah, mobile pipeline is probably a little bit more, especially now in the post-COVID world. When we talk about virtual,
Yes.
everybody thinks about electronics. This is actually physically LNG being tankered in, utilized, and then tankered out.
Anywhere where the infrastructure doesn't already exist, or maybe it exists, but it's down. Right? It's down for service.
Planned outage or an emergency.
Right.
Pigging, testing of the pipes.
Hydro test.
Hydro test.
Cutout replacement.
Yep. Unplanned, somebody doesn't call 811 and dings a pipe, and all of a sudden there might be an emergency. It could be a hurricane. All those type of things, especially in the South where there's not a lot of redundant pipes where they can't backfeed another one, a lot of single strands, as we call them. And, well, we could geek out all day, but I want to geek out about something because the world has changed in the last 4 years. Again, we were doing it very heavy in the oil fields, but then really focused on municipalities and LDCs and focused on delivering to that. What type of markets have opened up now in the virtual pipeline world? Are we still doing the same with munis and utilities, or is there more right now?
Yeah, so still doing the same old, right, with feeding homes, businesses.
I'm blessed to do it.
Yeah.
Blessed to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. But no, you're right, Jim. There have been several applications that have popped up just within the last 4 years. The last thing you mentioned, living on the coast, we're prone to hurricanes, right?
Yep.
And outages, specifically with the electric grids.
Yep.
So one of the new technologies that have kind of popped up in the last few years that is being really bought into is deployment of mobile turbine units. So these big turbine generators that fit on 18-wheelers, semi-trailers, capable of basically powering the town of the Woodlands.
Oh, wow.
Per trailer. That's kind of what they size them for. 30 megawatts or so. Will be deployed in an instant and hooked up to the electric grid that might be down because of a outage at a power station. And those generators are often natural gas, most commonly natural gas. You can feed those with LNG, liquefied natural gas, or compressed natural gas, and they'll put power back on the grid in those emergency scenarios.
That's cool.
And it's kind of like being a part of the green conversation too. If there's, I'm gonna go back to the goals conversation. Like it's part. I'm gonna add one more thing too, because it makes me think it's part of integrity management. Like, of companies are thinking now, part of that downtime is going to be standing it up, and part of it's built into plans now because it's so mature at this point. People are building this into their projects, right?
Absolutely.
RFIs, RFPs.
These become
100%.
The way I would look at them is these become insurance policies.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're contingencies, they're insurance policies, but what we saw with the freeze here in Texas and all over the U.S. 2 years ago made everyone realize the infrastructure we have is vulnerable.
Sure.
Right? And so the cost that it takes to maybe reserve that type of service, whether it's reservation for mobile pipeline, reservation for mobile turbine paired with mobile pipeline, those costs are minimal when compared to what can happen when you lose electric service, gas service to big towns and cities. The PR there is horrible.
That's a very good point too. And when you think about it, when you say lose, that term means that, let's just say for natural gas stops flowing for some reason, and homes go without natural gas. So they turn on the hot water and it's cold. You try to cook eggs, there's no flame. And the average relight, meaning for a technician to go into that home, is around $72 is what they figured out. So when you think about it, the cost to have a reservation as a backup plan is a lot less, not just monetarily, but also PR wise, like you
Yes.
said. Good point
I
on that.
bet that price is a little bit higher these days too than 72 per, you know?
Oh yeah,
I mean, if you
yeah.
Think about inflation and the amount of protocol we have around keeping people safe now, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
The price has to be a lot higher than that now.
Yeah,
You
my
know, you
price
would
is
think.
my price goes back a few years, so you're absolutely right. That could be $90, could be 94, 97, 100.
Well,
No.
this is like protecting your brand too. When I think about, you know, you saying customers are going to be, they're not going to be happy about it. You know, whatever it is, man.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, and that goes into like winter peak shaving.
Yep.
You know, we talked about that. We've done a lot of those things in the past, and that's just it. Reserving LNG, have it on hand in case it gets too cold and there's not enough pressure, operating pressure, or whatever the case may be, that could drain a grid.
Yeah, you know, one thing we always talk about, right, as pipeline operators, as utilities, as service companies, the safe delivery of energy, right? Well, I'm seeing a change in the way that everybody thinks the safe and resilient delivery, resiliency system of energy, right? So not only are people thinking about how to operate their system safely, but also how do I build in the maximum amount of resiliency to account for these types of outages that might occur.
And I like it because it's energy, right? You're not even saying natural gas, right? Because in a lot of instances, like you said, you're powering electrical grids, you're powering, you know, a lot more than just the gas infrastructure, making sure the burner tip is lit, right? I mean, it's a lot more than that. So it really is providing energy.
Yes.
Across the board.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right, James. Hey, see, he's learning.
He's picking up.
We're bringing him along. He's going to be a LNG CNG little guru in no time.
Tell you what,
honorary member. Levers, right?
Oh wait, yeah, that's when I used to get on LNG. Yeah, remember that?
On the levers, everything's operated by a valve.
Yeah, but
that's okay.
Probably a keyboard.
Yeah, it probably is. Back from my days, Brian.
Yes.
What has been one of your most memorable, favorite virtual pipeline projects you've done? What's stuck out in your mind as something maybe unique, something the audience will be like, had no idea we could do that?
Yeah.
You know, one recently that's popped up is actually getting into Bitcoin mining. So, you know,
crypto.
Yes.
Right?
Cryptocurrency.
Crypto mining.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, those Bitcoin mining operations.
Are
you in?
I'm listening. Okay. You got my attention.
They require a lot of power, right? That's the main driver. You probably know a lot more about Bitcoin than I do.
I am not.
But I do know they require a ton of power. So
you know how many spam messages I'm gonna get in my LinkedIn inbox now
because of Bitcoin mining?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later.
We need investment.
Right. But you're right. They take a lot of power.
How much power are we talking? I mean, I view this as a laptop being set up and just hit the
button. And are you talking
the
casual, or are we talking banks of servers, big warehouse, you know, data center type environment?
They're scalable.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, they're scalable, but the ones I've seen, you know, there's banks of anywhere from 12 to 120, you know, mobile generators that might be 300
generators. I was thinking
of generators just to power the actual data centers.
Wait, give us that number one more time. How many generators?
Between 20 and 120.
And we're talking like the generators are like the 8-foot by 3 foot
or larger
or larger.
So is this supplemental, or you're saying essentially they're running those data centers with stood up on a virtual pipeline, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. But what I've seen is these data centers, they have to be in conspicuous areas, right? For safety and security reasons, for some of the ways that they're designed. So where is that at? Well, it's out in the middle of nowhere where infrastructure is not
have a pipeline.
Exactly.
Right?
The pipeline, no line power.
We could get a
for
farm
electricity.
tap or something. Couldn't we just tap in some? No, just kidding.
Well,
see, what are we, and we studied this, Jim, back in the day. But I think, you know, talking to some of the people here recently, you know, I think depending on the size of the pipeline, obviously, but to construct new taps and new lines, somewhere in the ballpark of $1 million to $1.5 million a mile.
Yeah, that would be.
Capital cost.
Yeah, and that was one of my old costs, and I might be even
These
up higher
places
now with
may
the
be out
steel.
in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely.
There ain't no pipeline close to
No.
this.
Well, and the issue is, I mean, it's almost like asphalt plants, where a lot of people don't want to put pipelines into asphalt plants because a lot of those are portable, meaning they move. So an operator says, well,
Definitely not going to put infrastructure out.
because if it's only going to move, what's the return on investment? A lot of times, services can be a 30-year payback. So
Wow, man.
interesting. Are you thinking about cryptocurrency,
I'm just
Bitcoin
thinking
mining?
about how I could have a homegrown operation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of homegrown, that's
Whoa,
that's
look at
another
this transition.
another application there that is fairly common is marijuana grow operations. So, when you are growing marijuana in
Same-
states where it's legal,
same.
right?
Where it's legal.
You don't want to do that in the downtown area or places that can be, hit by crime or people. You want to be very conspicuous as to where you put these facilities, right?
Same problem.
Same
Tons of
problem.
energy.
Same problem. Energy, whether it's
Tons of
electric
needs.
or
Yeah.
gas or whatever you might need to keep climate control going. Virtual pipeline fits that need.
Oh, look at
Not
it.
in my brain right now. Well, again, because you think about these segments of not our industry, the industries of the world
Yeah.
that are behind the scenes being powered by natural gas, right? With total different agendas. I'm just saying, but behind it all, the backbone is natural gas.
Yeah.
Well,
And I know they're not all ran like that, but it is a very efficient, again, it's safe, all the things we always say. Wow, man,
and it's
that's really cool.
91% efficient, really
Sign me
running natural gas generation at the site as opposed to running through power lines over 10, 20
That
miles
is
or
not what
whatever.
I thought you would say. I thought you were going to be like, one time I was up there and it was snow. There was 14 foot of snow on the ground. He's like, nah, I was supplying natural gas to this grow shop and this.
And a
That's
Bitcoin
just
place?
Wow. No, it's just crazy to think that's behind it.
It is, yeah.
Back in the heyday, we did a large project out in let's just call it the West Virginia area, and it was 1,800 MCFs, so that's 1.8 million standard cubic feet an hour for 6 to 8 to 10 hours to get a coal plant running, up an electric generation coal plant. Because at that time, they were being curtailed in the winter months because if they fired up, there are homes and businesses in the area that could actually go offline because this plant sucked so much gas. So we did that. Brian was on site there many a time.
Yeah, and what was interesting there is because it's such a critical operation for the power plant to always be putting power on the grid, if they ever were down, they would be fined by the JPM $1 to $2 million an hour if they were not producing when called upon. So
One for
the cost
one, right?
again
Yeah.
for that insurance policy to have a backup to ensure that you had a resiliency
that ain't
plan in
gonna be
place.
me.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
No, that's
But
awesome.
I'll blow your mind real quick because I don't think I've told you about this yet.
Oh, well, we're going to learn something.
That was probably one of the bigger, if not biggest, virtual pipeline projects that we had done up to that point, about 2016.
Yeah. Yep.
One that we did about 3 years ago was about 5 times that size.
5 times portably, virtually. I mean, what were you feeding? A power plant?
Take that back. I just lied about that.
Oh, he lied.
I was
Right
thinking
here
in
on
terms
camera.
of days and not hours.
Oh,
We did do one that was 10 million standard cubic foot a day for about a week.
that's a huge number.
I don't even
High
know
pressure or low
what that
pressure?
means, but it's
High pressure.
A lot.
No,
He lied again
I lied
on
again.
camera twice in a
it
row.
did 10 million standard cubic foot per hour.
Per hour, which is
I don't
huge.
even believe him.
Yeah.
Which is 5 times.
It was about a load and a quarter of LNG. A load being a transport trailer, 10,000 gallons every hour for about 5 days.
What type of pressure?
That one was at about 300 psi.
That's high. That's difficult because LNG is all transported. If you can transport LNG at like 10, 20 psi, that's great.
Over the road, yeah.
Where compressed natural gas is just that compressed and it's at 1,800, 2,000, 2,300, whatever it is. LNG, you want it low because the pressure builds when the LNG starts to heat. And when it heats, that's when the pressure builds up. So you want it as low as possible. So getting up to 300, that would have been interesting. I got to take a look at that, see what you guys did with that.
Yeah, for sure.
The compression units.
We were sending gas across the Mexico border to a bottling facility for favorite beer of yours, probably. So,
Really?
Again.
yeah. Interesting. Just interesting.
Natural gas
scenarios
supporting
like
that again.
Yeah.
Wait,
If
you were on
like beer?
We were on the
Maybe.
U.S. side.
you're on the U.S. side
Could
feeding
throw
them?
a rock and hit the river.
Feeding it.
Wow. Yeah.
See, and again, in
Behind
there
the
for
scenes.
2 weeks, whatever it was, 10 days, and then out.
Yeah.
That's
Roll in,
fascinating.
roll out.
Fascinating.
And you know, as Kaylee mentioned earlier, kind of learning a little bit about what we do. That's our goal at the end of the day, is for nobody to know that we were ever there. Right.
Right, if you do yours
We
right.
come
You're
in, we
just an
support, and we
extension.
roll out.
Yep. That's when you know it's a success, when nobody knows. They get up in the morning,
What? We had an outage? A
The
plant
water-
outage?
the water's hot, the eggs are being cooked, there's heat in the house if you need it, away you go.
Yep.
Electricity being generated by
Fantastic.
natural gas.
It's fun stuff.
Man, I learned a lot today. You two are, I knew it would be like this though.
It took me about 6
You're
months to
awesome.
pick up on what you picked up on, James.
I have no clue what you're talking about. But I'm excited about it, and I know there's some other people out there that are geeking out just like
Well, once
and
it
there's
gets,
a lot of people like me who
Yeah.
are learning. I understand our segment.
oh, you do.
But when I sit down with you, I learn, and that's why it's so important. Being here live, like we talked about earlier, just being here live allows us to tap into that metaphorically and literally.
I love it. I love it.
Are you ready to wrap up? You know what we should ask you?
Yeah, ask them.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah, do it.
Wait, were you? I can't remember. Were you on at EWN Con? Did we grab you?
No.
Yeah.
I was at EWN Con, but you didn't.
We couldn't track him down.
No, we
See,
couldn't.
it's hard to schedule.
He was always selling LNG.
All
Yeah.
right, you ready? This is on the fly, on the spot.
Okay.
Shoot from the hip. All right. What does Be Brave mean to you? That was our campaign. For
Yep.
those that don't know, that we launched at EWN Con.
Yeah.
What does Be Brave mean to Brian?
It's funny. The first thing that popped in my head was a book that we had to recently read for some strategic planning
Had to.
meetings. And that book was "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Absolutely.
And so when I think "Be Brave," it's feel free to step out of your comfort zone, be brave about it,
Okay.
because you always should be progressing, right? Whether that's in business, that's in your personal relationships, that's in your walk with the Lord, that's in anything, right?
Anything.
Always progress. Be brave. Don't be scared.
Beautiful answer.
Love it.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Brian, it's good to be back with
Yes,
you,
sir.
man.
Thank you.
Always, brother.
Good to see you.
Always
Yes,
good.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna geek out on some more
Nothing
LNG
like being
stuff.
live. Yeah,
Let's go.
we're
Let's
gonna
go. Let's go mine some
post
Bitcoin.
show.
Let's go mine some
Oh,
Bitcoin.
man.
I just want to get some tankers. Hey, I've been in LNG since 2008. I can't
mine
get out my.
Bitcoin.
All right, you guys go do that. Listen, thanks for joining us on this episode of Coffee Jim and James. Please, if you want to, look up Brian. He's a wealth of information. Until next week, a Coffee Jim and James. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Take care.